Today's project is we're going to take this old Harbor Freight 10 by 12 greenhouse that we put up last year that did a tremendous job. It was a great greenhouse kit, and I would highly recommend these to people probably anywhere other than where hurricanes roll through. We went through a hurricane last year, and the front half of the hurricane up to the eye, the greenhouse sustained no damage. I said it did really well. We came out and checked it when the eye passed through, and the greenhouse stood strong. Went to bed. It was probably midnight when the eye passed over. Woke up the next morning and came out and was really shocked because, as you can see up in the corners and across this whole top, the top of the greenhouse on the backside just crushed in and just bent the metal and slung the panels out and more or less made the greenhouse useless. But I've come up with a plan. I'm going to take all the bolts out along the top, and I'm going to take the top gabled part of the greenhouse roof off, which will leave it just a flat top square. Then I'm going to reframe with lumber and put corrugated poly panels on it, which should stand up to hurricane force winds, at least, I don't know, a category 2, maybe early 3. It should stand up to that pretty well. We'll find out. I'm new to having to build things that make it through hurricanes, and I don't think this kit was ever designed for that type of pressure, but it did really well. And I think if we rebrace it and put it in a little stronger, then we'll have a great greenhouse. Let's get started on this greenhouse and see what we can do with it today. Alright, I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to be able to take the bolts out along the top rail that hold the top, man, without having to take every panel out, and then maybe get the whole gabled end to go off. Only one way to find out, I guess. Whew. Even in here with some of the panels missing, it's getting warmer in here than it is outside. The sun hits these panels. If you've never had a greenhouse before on your homestead, you need one. You can extend your growing season. If we had the top on it now and the doors sealed and had a small heater in here at night, we could be growing tomatoes down here on the coast year round. But it's a good, even with the openings in it, it's a good 10-12 degrees warmer in here than it is outside right now. So I made the determination that I could just take the bolts out to bolt the top to the main base. So I'm gonna have to take this board out here and continue to take bolts out, and I should be able to just flip the top right off. That's going to save me a lot of time, and then I can go get some lumber and get the framing, and hopefully maybe by the end of tomorrow have a roof back on the greenhouse. When we talk about homesteading, we always talk about how to save money. Our first initial thought when the greenhouse was nearly destroyed by the hurricane was, well, we're going to have to build a new greenhouse from the ground up. But you want to save money. So we sat and studied it and decided that for a fraction of that cost, we could just put a new roof on this one, and as long as the sides hold up through the storms that come, we'll get years and years of service out of this. So just another way to save money. Money doesn't go as far as it's going to go. I was going to build a little garden shed this morning, 4 foot by 8 foot, and then I was going to extend out some posts and put a 6 foot porch on the front of it, just a place to keep potting soil, pots, garden tools, just a place where she could keep things put up. Calculated that up this morning. It was going to be about $1,400 to build that little shed, which a couple years ago that probably would have been $600 or $700, probably before the the super flu came out, we would have been able to do that a lot more affordably. So I'm going to look at trying to find some recycled materials, maybe tear a building or two down for some other people that want buildings. You want to try to salvage materials, because I can't fathom the cost of things today. So let's get back on this and get this part done. Notice, and I'm a big fan. I'm not sponsored by anybody. We're a really small channel. But if you're trying to run a homestead and you want to do it affordably and you don't want to waste your money, Ryobi 1. You see my drill. But the 18-volt battery is so versatile, 4 amp hour, that when I need to cut something off, I just grab a grinder. I have so many of these tools now. Don't waste your money on the high end. I work things to death, and Ryobi 1 holds up all day. Well, I guess as you can see, that worked. Took 25 screws out or so and just simply threw it off of the greenhouse. So now we're ready to frame it up. Kind of excited. The greenhouse means so much to us because it gets things started so much earlier. And we'll do a lot of series on the greenhouse. And if you're trying to homestead and you're trying to grow food, it doesn't matter where you're at in the country. The friends of mine in Alaska run greenhouses nearly year-round. Now they have to heat them. They heat them with wood stove. This was our starter greenhouse here in North Carolina to see how well it would do. It did get extremely hot in the summer months. We're going to put better ventilation, probably solar fans and ventilation for this summer. But we're also putting in the 50-foot caterpillar tunnel hoop house from Farmer's Friend that'll run along this outside edge of the garden. So we're going to have a lot of expanded area for early crops and getting going. So now I've got to go and get the materials, and we'll start framing the top of this. We'll put a new gable in it. We'll put slats across. We'll use a clear Lexan panel that allows heat and light through. So the greenhouse should be usable again, but I'll keep this going. I've got to set some 4x4s here near the front, and I'll take the old doors, which we never liked. They were on a slide. If you buy a Harbor Freight greenhouse, the one thing you're going to hate is the doors slide, and they don't slide. You're tugging and trying. You're locked out of your greenhouse most of the time trying to figure out how to make that work. So I'm going to set a couple 4x4s on either side of that door, and then I'll frame those Harbor Freight greenhouse panel doors into a wooden frame so they become more usable. They'll hinge. We'll put a pin through one and you can open one and the other, and I think that'll be more usable. So let's go get some lumber. Okay, I made it back from Home Depot in one piece. Really shocked at the price of lumber these days. It's just 2x4s at $5.25 a piece for the 8-foot ones. And I've decided I either need to get a shorter greenhouse or I need to get a longer truck. That's hanging out a good amount. That's a 14-footer hanging out the end there. I got some tools set out here, ready to start making cuts and get this greenhouse ready. So the first step we're gonna have to do is build a band all the way around the top of the greenhouse. That outer band is what all the rafters and the jacks on the end will sit on. So the first thing we'll do is we'll put a double 2x4, 2 thick, from this corner over to this corner. And then we'll go all the way around the greenhouse and get that upper band in. So I'll start making those cuts now, and we can get started, and then I can put my center in and we can start cutting rafters. Okay, so let's get a measurement across these. What I'm going to do is going to take a little more time. The outside of the greenhouse sets up a little bit higher than the tops of the 4x4s, so I'm going to cut the board to full length, and then I'll notch it to sit on top of that and secure it on both the top and the bottom. And it's going to take a little longer to do, but I think we'll end up with a better result. Okay, you can see here I notched these so that they sit down on the 4x4 and come out fairly flush with the guttering on the building. So when we run the one this way now, we'll notch it that way too. Here's our second one for the first end. Good. Another great remote tool is a pass load. No air needed, no compressor, tank of gas and a charged battery. Set nails anywhere you want to. Now we've nailed the ends in. I'm going to go get some screws and we'll screw along the section of it just to strengthen it. Okay, that's one side. Now I'll do the back side and then I'll cut both sides out. Once that's done, then we can go ahead and find our center, stand her upright, put our 14-foot center in, start cutting rafters. Going quicker than I thought. I cannot wait to have the greenhouse back though. Okay, I've got all the outside nailers at roof level that we'll put our rafters into. That gives a lot of support to this greenhouse. It's more solid now than it has been. Once I put the screws in the last 2 bands on the outside every 8 inches, then I'll find my dead center on the ends, and I'll raise my uprights so that I can put my center purling in so I can set my rafters off. Probably all I'll get done today is just getting the center found and get my uprights in and get my centerpiece in, and then we'll have to do part 2 tomorrow. We're just going to run out of time today, and I've still got to get all the tools put up from the day. But this is turning out really good, and this is how you rebuild a Harbor Freight greenhouse and make it a lot more solid. Okay, I've got the center purling in now. I need to still attach it, and that's going to be it for today. Start out tomorrow as early as I can, depending on how cold it is in the morning. I'll get this temporarily attached, and we can start cutting the rafters and laying all of that out tomorrow. Whew. Been a long day, but Tracy made a big pot of homemade chili, so I'm going to get cleaned up and go in there and get me something to eat. I'll see you tomorrow.